Welcome to the 495. I'm your host, Doug Sparks, editor-in-chief of Merrimack Valley Magazine, here with my can of Lysol, which I'm holding up right now to the camera so that my wife sees. I did fulfill my promise.
Yeah.
I've sprayed this. I'm wearing my gloves. I've sprayed the mouse. Everything in front of me.
I will back you up.
Disinfected.
I will testify.
Lou, how you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah. Crazy week, huh?
Yeah. But I think we talked about it this week. We're in the media, so it's kind of like a fire horse type of situation.
Yeah.
We get a little good, when there's a good story hanging around, we get interested.
Yeah, it's what makes us essential. And part of what we're doing on our end, if you don't go regularly to our website, mvmag.net, I would start bookmark it and go regularly because we're updating stories and we're sending out a lot of information. So anytime we get anything new and helpful and practical, we're putting up on the website. Also on our Facebook page, because if you're watching this on Facebook, you already know that. But if you're listening on Spotify, or if you're listening to it as a podcast, go over to mvmag.net and take a look and bookmark that page and keep your eyeballs on us, because anything having to do with COVID-19 in the Merrimack Valley, we're updating as much as we can.
I know, and it's kind of a fine line, isn't it, between being in the news flow too much, but you kind of have to because things change so constantly.
Yeah.
But it's daunting to stay in, keep your head in the drum.
Yeah.
So often.
Yeah. Well, I've been trying to take a break every once in a while. I've been going. I was getting into wood carving before this happened.
Yeah.
And my skills as a wood carver have gotten a lot better over the past 2 weeks.
Bet.
It's a great way to completely tune out anything other than just whatever's in front of you, and to focus and to be mindful.
More specifically, what kind of wood carving?
Just simple. I started making tea tools, like tea picks and teaspoons and things like that, and then tried to get fancy and realized I didn't really like the fancy, and so I've just kind of scaled to spoons and just little kind of simple things. Mostly, it's not like I'm just trying to. I'm not trying to build a house or something. I'm not doing anything fancy. I just like the simplicity of the wood, and I'm trying to use interesting wood I find around the yard, and look at what happens to the grain once you carve it down, once you sand it, and start adding. I use this method where you put vinegar and water and rusty nails in a jar. Have you heard of this?
No, I have not.
It's called ebonizing. So it's all stuff you have around the house anyway. You put this stuff in a jar.
Yeah, you had rusty nails around, did you?
I did have some rusty nails. And the iron oxide, for whatever reason I did, the iron oxide comes out. And then if you have wood with a high tannin content, such as oak, you can paint this wood and it will turn it black instantly. It looks like you're painting it black. It's really, really cool effect. Wow. And it sort of brings out the grain. And the other thing to do is to take like a plumber's torch and torch the wood. You've seen this before. And it creates this kind of ash coating, and then you sand off the ash coating. And
part of it's just floors. You get the grain, pull the grain out of it.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, I'm not doing this to become the world's greatest spoon maker or something like that. It's just, it's contemplative and it's nice. And I go out in the garage and it's quiet, and I don't know.
Do you have trouble with real detailed work, like real artsy wood carving? Because you strike me as a big picture guy. Getting down that small, I bet would be challenging for you.
I don't know if it's challenging for me because my personality, it may be. What's challenging is I'm doing almost everything with hand tools, and I'm just kind of learning, and also I'm sort of drawn to the stuff that isn't super detailed. More like what they call wabi-sabi in Japan, the sort of the natural wabi-sabi is ceramics and wood that preserves a kind of natural, even like cracked or imperfect feel. So I want the wood to be there. I want it to look like a piece of wood and bring out what is natural and beautiful about the piece of wood, rather than to make the piece of wood look like a chipmunk or something like that.
Yeah.
That's sort of what I'm in it for. And I just like that. I think it's really cool when you just kind of keep whittling away and going with the feel and seeing these sort of knots and the grains come out of whatever it is you're looking at, and finding out the hidden surprises that are in these pieces of wood that were just lying around the yard from last year's storm damage.
We all have learning opportunities here.
Yes.
Now, I'm going back to the guitar. I'm diving back into the guitar again. Trying to turn that time into something positive.
Bring it in next week, and we'll do a duet. No, all right. So, guest today is Linda Shottes-Bouchard from the Sheds Children's Campus. Linda, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay.
I'm here.
Great. And you're calling from where right now?
I am calling from Merrimack, Mass. My home.
Okay.
Today. Yes.
So, before we get to what's going on with you in particular as a result of this crisis, for people who don't know what the Sheds Children's Campus is, what is it?
Sure. We are a nonprofit in Andover, Mass. We service over 350 children in our community, and ages 2.9 all the way up to age 15. So we have anywhere from preschool programs, pre-K, kindergarten programs, and then before and after school programs, and then summer camps.
Why ages 2.9? Why so specific?
It's because of the state regulations.
Okay.
So 2 years and 9 months. So I should probably say 3, but it's usually people are looking for the cutoff time.
Sure.
And all. So
I was going to ask what date 2.9 was, but it's 2 years and 9 months. Yeah.
Exactly. It's 2 years and 9 months.
Okay.
So.
All right. So to continue, you're working with these, and there's something unusual. There's something you're following a particular philosophy in this program that seems to me unlike other programs of its type, if you can even say that in this area.
Absolutely. So our finding, we have 5 foundational pillars that we find that is truly our foundation as an organization. We live and breathe it. And one of it is Reggio Emilia philosophy, which is an Italian-based philosophy in Port Italy right now, what they're going through also. So, and it's a region, Reggio Emilia is a region in Italy, and basically it was created back after World War II when the women gathered together not wanting that ever to happen again, and they built their schools. They refer to it as brick by brick. And the whole philosophy is the child is the focus. And it's a very child-focused philosophy where the child leads the learning. And we, as the adults, are the facilitators to accommodate with their learning, whatever they need. We don't interrupt it. We are great scientists and observers of the philosophy. And watching the children and having them guiding their learning experience. Our other pillars that we have are we have mindfulness is another piece that is very intentional throughout our day, along with we have gardening. So we have outdoor. We have 15. I believe we now have 15 organic garden beds that our children are constantly working in. And then we also have nature component. We're on 2 acres of land on the Phillips Academy campus, so we are in the woods a lot with our children. And then the last piece is the community, that we're right in the hub, very close to downtown Andover, and we really ripple out into the community. We start them right at the age of 3 when they're with us, all the way up to 15. So if you can imagine a ripple in the water, that's how we kind of approach the community. You know, we start small within our own campus, and then we build on the ripple as the children get older.
For people who don't know where it's located specifically, that's a story in itself. Where are you located?
Okay, yes. Perfect. We are, so we're right on the Abbott campus in Andover. So it's on the Phillips Academy campus, but it is where the original Abbott campus, which was the girls' campus. Once upon a time, Phillips Academy was the boys' school, and the Abbott was the girls' school. And back in 1973, they had merged together, where the boys, where the girls had joined the boys uphill, they used to call it, at Phillips Academy.
So what's the current status of the program, and what's happening right now as a result of COVID-19?
Oh, boy. It's been a whirlwind.
Sure.
And I feel like we're going minute to minute a lot of these days. So Shed ended up closing. The board of directors got together. I believe it was Friday the 13th, where it was decided after the Andover Public Schools had closed. We had then closed our organization also. What we are doing right now is my staff and educators are still connecting with our families. So they have been going nonstop on our Facebook page. We're doing lots of Zoom classrooms and Zoom meetings, and we're still going full steam ahead. So the board's been very active and very much up to date what's going on in the state. It looks like right now the official piece was like we're closed for 3 weeks, so we're on week number 2. So, but I believe it's going to be a wait and see because it seems like it is still evolving.
What has this experience shown your staff and the teachers about dealing with children and helping children in a time like this?
Yeah. So right now, the staff have been just showing up for the kids, and that's what this is all. I believe it's all about. Like, how do we be there for the kids, and specifically, we as a team, we meet every Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we kind of connect of how we're going to be connecting with our children. So right now the staff is like, how can we communicate with them, letting them know that we're here, everything's okay. They're surrounded by love, and we're just showing up between the Facebook Live, where they're participating and engaged in continuing their learning experience, and at the same time, they could be on Zoom meetings and just having really fun little interactions. I know one of the classes yesterday did a yoga class all together on the Zoom. So it's really important. How are we there for our families and helping them through this, being in their homes, and still educating, and that we're a part of the process also for them.
Are there specific activities that seem more effective? Are you discovering that the kids just love, because now it's a different environment. They're having to do this from the home.
I know, because we're so used to being in the woods and outside with the kids, but we're still implementing that. Like, I know one of the other activities that the educator brought to the group was making fairy houses outside and getting the children outside in nature. Especially during this time, it's a
fairy house is what?
Excuse me.
You said you were making fairy houses?
Yeah, fairy
what are those?
houses. So that is like what they usually do is they select bark on this tree. They may they go into the woods and they find a little spot where they would like to invite fairies, and they read stories to the fairies, and they build little houses and use their imagination, however it may go.
Yeah, I have a 2.9-year-old daughter, and I'm not even joking. It sounds perfect for her. We've struggled to get her outside as much as we would like, partly just because of reality, and we're, my wife and I are both working remotely, but the weather hasn't been super cooperative as far as getting outside, at least. So I have a 2.9-year-old and a baby. So she can tolerate the cold, and we have gotten her outside, but it's been a little trickier than ideal, I would say.
Right. And I know even yesterday, so yesterday was the snow, like our days are melding. I know that we were seeing lots of pictures where children were making snowmen yesterday in March. So that was the other way. So using some of the elements, using some of the bark and some of the sticks that they were finding, they were applying it to their snowmen. So instead of the fairy houses, they were also adding snowmen to their properties.
And what about this?
No men and no women.
Right. And so what about this mindfulness component? And just be aware that not everyone is going to really understand what we mean by the word mindfulness.
Yeah,
like when we use it all the time, we think we kind of know, but there might be people listening who like mindfulness. What is that?
What is that? And I know for a lot of people it scares people too, because it's like, I can't be still. Mindfulness, I look at it as pure simplicity. Is how can we be in the present moment, the right here, the right now? And with that, there's being in this moment and taking your breath, observing your breath, observing what is around and being very present. That's how we really approach mindfulness with our kids. So in our program, it's in our everyday practice, and it's just the little moments where even washing our hands, can we really observe, especially now, observe being at the sink with the soap and really observing and being present in that moment while you're washing your hands. And it's just really watching, are you already jumping off to go do the next activity, or can you be in that moment just washing your hands?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, about the content, teaching that to young kids in context, because I didn't get any kind of grasp on these concepts until I was in my 50s. And I'm trying to give it to my kids who are not 2.9 years old, they're 20 and 24, and they're not ready for it yet. So I was wondering how to approach this to kids, because kids basically do this, don't they? They don't live so much in the future. They don't live so much in the past.
They really don't. And it could be even, I think even getting ready to go outside, they do live in the moment, but it's us as adults observing it, and even sometimes just even stating it, or even asking, what do you observe? What do you hear? It's just slowing things down, especially when you do have the younger kids. They like to sometimes rush through things too, also, and it's like just taking the moment. And, it could even happen during snack or lunchtime, each time you take a bite, are you really, tasting your sandwich? What does it feel like in your mouth? Are you able to chew it? How many times would you chew? How many times do you chew that bite of sandwich, And just really slowing things down and being aware.
This all sounds like stuff that's important for everyone, not just kids. And I'm wondering how much your staff is feeling as though they almost kind of have to educate parents along with the kids.
Absolutely. So, what we offer, and this is good to know for anyone, and it's open to the public, every Wednesday when we are open, when we're back on site again, we have a teacher, a director who actually offers a free sitting meditation at 6 o'clock on every Wednesday night.
That's just at 6 p.m. Okay.
Yeah, at 6 p.m.
How do they access this? On the Facebook page, you said?
It's on our Facebook page. We usually send out reminders, and we open it up to the public. And that's a good way where, we do send out newsletters and information to parents how we are, what we're working on, or how we're approaching certain things. And we also give tips for parents around mindfulness also, in being present in the day, being present. I'm kind of jumping around, but even just being present, like the moment they walk in to pick up their child from our program, we have a no cell phone rule in our building. So it's like when they come that they're being present to pick up their child for the day, or even dropping off for the day also. So we have many areas that we end up sharing this information with our children, with our parents. Sure.
So people can see this sitting meditation tonight at 6 p.m. on your Facebook page?
No, because we're not actually in the building anymore.
Okay.
So I think we will we're just getting all the children's programs all set up and ready. But that would be a fun thing to do, is to do the live events. And we haven't even, I don't even think we have thought of that, to do a live event on Facebook.
Well, if you do, let me know, please.
Okay.
And then in the meantime, people can follow your Facebook page and look for updates and get some of these tips.
Absolutely. That would be great.
So how did you get into this into this business? How did you discover this way of doing education, and what's your path to Shed Children's Campus?
Oh boy. So it's my path is I graduated with a sociology degree, and it's the study of people. And I do. I love families and I love children. And I started with Shed back in 1991. So I've been with the organization for I think I'm going on my 29th year. And I think back in 2000, so I was basically the after-school director from when I was hired as a part of the organization. And then in 2011, the executive director had retired, and I was appointed the executive director. And at that time, we were just coming off of the 2008 recession, would you call it? So we were really looking at what are we doing, how are we doing it, and what do we want for the future of our children and our community. And what we really came up with was that's when we started to adopt the Reggio Emilia philosophy. And at that time, I was heavily being introduced to meditation and meditating. And I was reading a lot of studies and thinking that would be a great, these are life tools. And I think that's the other thing when we're really looking at the 5 pillars, they're life tools. So
when you originally got into meditation, were you approaching it from a particular tradition? In other words, were you doing Zen meditation, or was it more kind of just sort of general, like Western mindfulness training?
It was more of a mindfulness training, and it pretty much spurred on for me that I did a 10-day silent retreat.
Where was that?
I went away for a 10-day silent retreat.
Yeah, can you tell me where it was?
Yes, it was in Barre, Mass. A-R-R-E. It's the Insight Meditation.
Sure.
City. If you're familiar with them, and that was really I tend to dive when I want to learn something, and I had never meditated in my life. And at that time, I felt like I'm going to give this a shot.
Wait, so you had never meditated in your life, and step one is a 10-day silent meditation retreat in Barre, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And so people aren't talking, how do you communicate with each other?
You don't.
But that must have been crazy. Like, how did you, was it a struggle?
You know what it was? Because, I tend to dive when I do things. I like to dive. And I was curious about it, and I had not, right. So basically, when you arrive at the meditation retreat, they bring you into a room, they give you your room assignments, and there are no cell phones, no books, no notebooks, nothing, just what you have. And then they give you your one yogi assignment of work assignment. And whether you work in the kitchen for your Dharma practice, or you do help out with the laundry and all. So I just remember going to the room, and when they were giving me my work assignments, I'm not a big fan of doing laundry. And I remember looking at the list saying, just give me anything, but I don't want to do laundry. And I ended up spending 10 days washing bath mats. I collected everyone's towels and bath mats for 10 days. So you have to be careful what you have.
But so did that change your relationship to washing? Were you okay with it at the end of the 10 days?
Totally. First couple of days were a little rough. I was like, oh, because it's when we resist, right? That's the whole list. That's the lesson. I was resisting. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be in the kitchen cutting vegetables. So it's the resistance, and then you learn over time just to sit with it. And what is the resistance? So you keep on going deeper and deeper with it.
Were you fairly trusting in the beginning, or was this? Did you have these moments where you start thinking, "Is this some kind of crazy cult? Are they going to come here and put electrodes on my head? And am I going to end up in a pot somewhere with people, shucking carrots and onions into the water next to me?"
It sounds like a question I would ask, not you, Doug.
I just have to think at some point you're going to say, like, yeah, there's a fear about everything. Like, I have irrational fears, right? You suddenly think the neighbor's going to, like, bust in at night and steal your power saw or something like that. He's not going to, but you worry about strange things. And if you're only in your head, right, you're meditating, you're going through this process, I just kind of wonder about those sort of fears.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, fears are definitely a big piece of that 10-day process, because when you start, because it's like you all you have is you, yourself, and you only have me, myself, and I, right? You're just sitting with you, and I mean, the schedule was pretty rigorous, where we were up at 5 a.m. in the morning, and I think we were going to bed about, I think I'd be heading to bed about 10. But there were multiple meditations throughout the day, and yeah, you just have all of you, and you're sitting with your thoughts. So any of those crazy thoughts definitely start trickling in.
As far as the meditation,
so you're uniquely prepared for what's going on now with COVID-19, right?
Oh, I'm deep into meditation.
This sounds like training for exactly what we're going through right now.
You know what? Exactly. And I think that's the whole point here, is just think about it. All of our children, this is a part of, with them being a part of our program, they now have tools in their toolbox, right? So if something's feeling scary, or if something's feeling unsure, they know it's a breath away. They can breathe. They can take some breaths. They can go into maybe some yoga exercise, like into a posture. They know that, everything's a moment away, where you can just take that deep inhale breath and let it go, and do it again and let it go, and things don't feel as scary.
Where do you get your staff from, and how do you train your staff?
Yeah, so staff are, all walks of life. The number one goal for all of our staff is that they have to love and appreciate children and respect children. Like that right away, number one. And then, I feel like I haven't hired in a long time. A lot of my staff have been with us for over 20 years. So
do they tend to come from education backgrounds, psychology,
yeah,
all
yeah,
over?
Some have education, some have psychology, some have art as a background. Some are still going through their education also. So we're very proud of some teachers who absolutely find us. They love us, and they want to learn everything that they can from us. And then we start putting them onto a track. I have a great director that helps folks finding the education that they need, and that they can continue their education while being with us. So we have all walks of life. That's the most important. It's the diversity.
So as far as what we're facing right now, have you had to think about the future of the program? Is it going to change the nature of the way you're doing business? Or are you even at the point where you can begin considering that?
I'm not sure. Again, I think it's what we are finding. It's the first time we've ever done Facebook Live, and we're finding a lot of fun with that, and teachers are loving to play around with that. I almost see that's going to continue with us. It's going to just expand our program in some way, with the videos and connecting with others out there. And then I think the Zoom is another interesting thing. I think right now, all of my educators with our meetings, and as we're actually documenting just like we would with the children, this entire experience as an organization. So we're going to actually have documentation of what this was all about for all of us.
You know, I may be, and rightfully or wrongly, you tell me if my assumption is wrong. I assume that the kids who go in this program, given that it's in Andover, tend to be fairly affluent and aren't going to be sort of struggling to get access to the internet. Is that a fair assumption?
That would be fair right now.
Okay, so you don't have to deal with issues of kids just not being able to get onto the computer.
No.
Okay.
We haven't yet. I haven't heard. And actually, I think we have enough iPads that we could give if there was a family that was in need that needed to have access. But it seems, from what I'm hearing right now, everyone has access to the internet.
Yeah. Cool. Lou, do you have any questions?
Yes. I'm going to appoint you, Linda, education czar, effective immediately. And let's put politics and finances aside. Fundamental changes to American public education. What would be the first couple things that you'd institute? What would you aim public education towards that they might not be doing right now?
Leave the kids alone.
And I'm sorry to jump on your answer here, but this is one of the things that I'm seeing a lot. People are kind of finding that like homeschoolers will get on Facebook and say, in reality, the homeschool component of homeschooling is very short. It's only a couple hours a day, and the reason why kids are in these classrooms sometimes for such a long period of time is some sort of social control. Right, and
right.
The real education comes out in doing the gardening
Public
and
daycare.
The walking, and
yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and in their play. I mean, like you just observing, right? Your infants and your 2.9 or 3, you know.
Yeah.
Just observing. If you just sit back and you just observe, right? They are working so hard, just processing what's going on. They're working all the time, and they're learning, absorbing. And if we, we as adults, and if we can just kind of watch and observe, and then add to their experience without interrupting their experience, it's a beautiful place to be. Because they take us in places that we could never even imagine sometimes.
Refreshing our perspective, taking advantage of the perspective they refresh for us. Doug's a parent of young kids. You're becoming a child again, right?
Yeah.
You've regained the perspective of your youth when you're a young parent.
And it's great for me, and the whole wood carving thing probably goes along with that because, I watch, my older daughter, the 2.9-year-old, draw and do art and see how she's kind of putting pieces together and like starting to do shapes. And I've tried to take a little bit of this approach of just not constantly be on her. Just let her draw. Let her see what comes out, and not like, okay, she's drawing a square now, so let's try to get her to draw a circle.
Yeah.
Let her do whatever she's doing, and we do that a lot when we take her outside. She's completely fascinated with rocks, of all things, constantly picking up rocks and looking at them, and she'll start talking to me about the shapes, and she'll start using them as tools, and she'll come up with her own names for them. And I'm trying to do a little bit of that where I just kind of cross my arms and let her go. But it also makes me a little bit jealous too, because I like that feel of just like, oh, now I'm once again at a 2-foot level to the world, looking at the leaves and looking at the patterns and not worrying so much about the Latin names for everything, but just experiencing things as they are, as I perceive them.
It's criminal, Linda, that I make this joke all the time because I put 2 kids through public education in Andover, by the way, and instead of the 3rd year going through Egyptian civilization, maybe a mindfulness class. Something that would give them a tool to deal with the life that they're going to be forced into soon. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think, the mindfulness, that is such a beautiful tool for anyone, anytime. Right during this time that we're all going through now. I feel great that I know our children do have some of these tools, So, and also the connection with the community. Community is another of our pillars that we're just so connected with, and that is so important. So I know for a fact that some of my students are probably already thinking about how can we be helping others, because that's usually the other go-to that happens in our organization is like, how can we be helping others in our organization, outside of our organization, and, throughout the Merrimack Valley. So, again, it's just, these are all, I think they're life tools and life the strengths for our kids to have.
And to Doug's point earlier about the parents, it's got to be easier teaching the kids something new as opposed to getting the parents to, I don't know what the correct phrase would be, unlearn what they know and try to learn a new way. That's a difficult part of the process, isn't it?
Yeah. But I feel like today's parents, they're very open. I think they're aware, as we're all on our computers right now. I think they want something different, for their kids. They want them to have their childhood, they want them to have that magic of just experiencing, their learning experience, whether it's outdoors in the gardens or out in the community.
Yeah. So if people want to learn more, there's the Facebook page that we've already talked about. What's your website address?
The website is shottschildrenscampus.org. Yeah, and we're on there all the time. We're still working full steam ahead. We're planning on continuing our work.
What changes over the summer?
Oh, during the summer months, it's all the summer camp programs. It goes full steam ahead. We have both of our buildings rocking and rolling. And again, we start with at 2.9 all the way up to age 15. And we go swimming. We go on field trips. We're outdoors every single day and playing. And we're also all around the community out there.
Great. All right. Well, thank you so much for talking with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, and seriously, if you do start doing some sort of daily meditation on Wednesday, don't be afraid to shoot me an email, and we'll kind of publicize it, or we'll let people know.
Yeah, well, definitely. And I might get in touch with you about your spoon making.
Okay,
too. We'll have to get you out onto our campus.
I would love to visit, and maybe I have some things to share, and I'll probably learn a lot as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
All right, Linda, thank you so much.
Day.
Yeah, you too.
Stay safe. Bye-bye.
That was nice.
Yeah, that was great. So, you're
I'm
ready?
sorry. Did I?
Yeah, well, I wanted to know how you're dealing with all this. We have a minute, so I just wanted to see how you're holding up. Let everybody know we're media, so we're essential business right now. We're not here because we're rebels or something. We're here because we need to keep spreading information and letting people know what's going on.
I'm a head down, job's got to get done type of guy.
Yeah.
And I have my concerns.
Are you working remotely at all?
Well, part of my job is remote anyway.
Okay.
So I'm not doing any more remote work than I was in the past. But I do some stuff from home.
And you said you had some concerns?
I have some concerns about this like anybody. I'm washing my hands more. I'm worried a little bit more about sanitation and doorknobs and going out in public. And I could probably be pretty well characterized as somewhat skeptical about this whole thing.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit more concerned about the financial impact than the virus itself. But, I have my cautions when I go out.
Have you had any strange experiences when you go out in public with people kind of breathing down your neck? Or if you witness people in general kind of trying to be decent?
At Market Basket, there was a woman in line behind me who I felt was crowding me a little bit. Yeah. And, it's just something I wouldn't have noticed beforehand. But generally, people are generally good. We're having a big to-do down on Plum Island because some people are upset about the people on the beach at Plum Island. Yeah. And I walk the beach every day. And we're out there. There are people. Everyone's keeping a distance and being respectful and saying hi. And I think everyone's got this into account. Right. But some people are like, no, you shouldn't be out. People are not distancing enough. And, people have dug in on this and have gotten really it couches the conversation when I say the word fanatical, but I can't. I don't know. I don't know another word.
Sure.
There's one guy was threatening to get his bullhorn on his deck and start yelling at people on the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's also, I remember, we have 2 young kids, so we had to get toilet paper. We loaded up on toilet paper early on in this because we didn't know where it was going.
Yeah.
We weren't hoarding. We weren't panicking. It's like we have 2 young kids. We need toilet
Being
paper. And I went,
yeah.
but I remembered kind of feeling, and it wasn't that much. It was just enough, a reasonable amount for a family of 4 for a couple of months. Mm-hmm. Not some crazy stockpile. But I still felt this sort of sense of shame and felt like people were kind of looking at me like, look at this idiot, like stealing all the toilet paper or...
No, see, I experienced self-shame.
Okay.
Because I went in, I was on a Friday when this whole thing started, and I was going into Market Basket because I basically live alone, so I'm buying every other day, something like that. And I was going to buy some protein bars. And I went in, and I walked in, the place was packed, and it was a mob scene, and stuff was coming off the shelves, and it was panic everywhere. And so I said, no, I'm not dealing with this, and went and got home, and then started thinking to myself, I should get out, because if this is what it's going to be, I should get out. So I went out Saturday and went, and I was mad at myself. It's like, why are you buying into this?
Yeah.
But you just don't know.
Right.
We're at a point where on a day-to-day basis, you don't know what the next day is going to bring.
Sure. Have you been eating like crazy?
No.
I've been so bad with that.
Have you been? Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. It's like, and partly it's just because I'm a vacuum cleaner. My family is used to, if there's anything left over, they just push it across the table at me, and I just vacuum it up. And we're getting takeout, and we're trying to support local restaurants as much as we can. And part of it's just like, I don't even think it's stress eating, because in some ways, the stress at home is less than it normally is.
Right.
It's pretty relaxed. But there's this kind of like, we have 2 hours and we're just sitting here and there's this mountain of takeout in front of me.
Well, you look in the pantries, or you look at on the table with the takeout, or you look in the refrigerator, you go, oh, I want some of that.
Yeah.
I want some of that. Yeah.
And how about Netflix? Have you watched Tiger King? What everybody's watching?
I haven't started that yet. I know. Is it good?
Oh, it's as I've been telling people, historians will remember 2020 as the year of the Tiger King.
I hear it's pretty wild.
That's irony.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's great. You have to
Okay.
watch Tiger King, and partly you need to watch it just because it's insane, and partly you need to watch it so that you can understand all the memes that are being generated out of Tiger King, and then you'll be like, okay, that's why that guy just posted that crazy.
I think I first saw about it on BuzzFeed, and they were talking about it just gets more and more insane. I guess, well, if it's insane to BuzzFeed.
Yeah, there's a funeral eulogy late in the one of the later episodes that has to be one of the strangest funeral eulogies ever given. Not for the children. This is one for when the kids go to bed. I would say.
All right.
Tiger
Yeah, because
King.
I watched the Netflix trailer, and they had the guy getting his arm bit off.
Yeah.
I'm going, I don't know if this is for me.
The guy getting the arm bit off is probably one of the tamer parts. It really gets insane.
Really? Yeah.
It is one of those things where you're just like, this can't get any weirder.
Yeah.
And then you watch another episode and you're like, okay,
wow,
it got weirder.
Where do they find these people?
Yeah, but you're holding up otherwise. You're feeling pretty good, and just kind of doing what you can, and you haven't been able to get out and walk.
I'm 61. I'm on the fringe of people who should be relatively careful, but I'm healthy and I'm taking precautions, and I'm,
Yeah. Do you know anyone who's been infected?
No.
I know.
Probably part of my psychosis. Probably.
Yeah. I know a couple who tested positive, and I guess it was and they're young and healthy, and I guess the experience was pretty miserable.
I would imagine.
And their message to me was, take this seriously.
Yep.
I know some people who've been tested, but they haven't tested positive. But as far as people, I know a couple who actually got COVID-19.
And listen, I am taking this seriously, and I would love to be able to stay home for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Nothing would make me happier. But by the same token, work's got to get done. Money has to be made. Bills have to be paid.
Yeah.
It's part of the reality of this that I think is being overlooked to at least some extent.
Yeah.
This is something we have to balance. This is a conversation we have to have.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I went over to Home Depot in Methuen before I came here to pick up some. Fortunately, they're essential, so I can do all these things that I haven't done since my first daughter was born.
It's
like
been a thought in
change a
my
broken
head.
light bulb that's been out for 3 years. So we had like a fluorescent light bulb over the sink, and for 3 years looked at that thing, saw that it wasn't working, and just said, "That's fine, no problem.
Yep.
I'll just continue on." And now we're in the house, and we have a little bit of spare time.
Oh,
We're
I'm
not
thinking
just
about
exhausted.
painting. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so we're like, okay, I got to take that down. I wonder how much those things cost. And I ordered one up from Home Depot, and I picked one up, and that it was pretty crowded over there.
Was it?
I was surprised how many people were in there. looked business as usual. I was probably the strangest looking guy because I was wearing gloves. Nobody else was. I didn't see any face masks. Mm-hmm. And I was actually wearing my press pass, not because I felt like they needed to know that I was a member of the press in Home Depot, but I just put it around my neck because I haven't been out. I didn't know if something was going to happen and people are going to say, no, you have to go home.
Management here handed out paperwork that is basically, show courtesy. This is media, which is considered essential business.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was
we're all
sort of glad I did it, and I got some kind of interesting stares as I was walking through the aisles. But otherwise, just kind of business as usual in certain areas, and people seem to be stepping out. You hear a lot of great stories about people looking after each other, too, in the face of this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I'm in a small community, and Plum Island's a pretty tight-knit community and a small community. And there are people just like, I'm going to Market Basket, I'll pick up 3 or 4 orders, let me know.
Yeah.
And arranging and just going for people and things like that. And people are stepping up. This is, I love Americans this way. This is what we do.
Yeah.
We step up for each other.
All right. On that note,
yes,
that sounds fantastic. We'll end for this week. We are going to be here next week.
Yes.
I'm Doug Sparks here with Lou Blasi. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next week.